as much as 10% of the population is seeing chiropractors. For us to fight amongst ourselves when it's 3,500 chiropractors in the whole of the United Kingdom is just stupid.
I know this, and so do you, is that business applies to both.
Not everybody should be a business owner. Not everybody can be a business owner. That doesn't suit everybody. Get them to answer questions that gets them to think. So you sort of pull things out of them so they are telling you what you want to tell them.
Hello and welcome back to another client interview. This is one of my favorite clients, Kris. So I have known Kris for a very, very long time. I think you may have been, I think you are our third client. So we did a free trial back when I think you knew this, I was at school, I was at sixth form, so I was 18 at the time. And then, yeah, Kris was lucky to give me a chance. He was lucky, not me. And then, yeah, got in very early. But then we took a massive pause. Kris has now been back with us for roughly about 2 months or so now, but we always stayed in contact. And yeah, so welcome, Kris.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Do you want to do a little introduction of yourself? I imagine that a lot of people here probably know you. Your name, when I can say it, is always very helpful when I'm on sales calls and stuff, because they're like, yes, I know Kris. So
that's very humbling. Thank you very much. Yeah, I've been a chiropractor since 1997. I graduated. A lot of people who are registered chiropractors probably weren't even born then, which is scary. At least the newer ones. Yeah, I've lived in the UK for 27 years as well. So I moved here straight after my graduation, and I have had a multidisciplinary clinic since then. Really. I worked for a couple of years as an associate, but I had my own practice on the side of that. So I've always sort of run a business in that sense.
Amazing. I actually didn't know that. So it's quite a common, it's kind of the normal pathway that people go down. It's something quite unique to this industry that everyone wants to go out on their own really, really early and really quickly. Yeah,
which in hindsight, which is always a good thing to do, right? I should not have done that, but you learn the hard way sometimes.
What would you do instead?
I should have sought out somebody who could mentor me properly and showed me all the tricks, and then I would have been not struggling as long as I did before. As I actually did, but it was all fine. It's all learning, right? So, but I think in hindsight, get a coach or get a mentor. That's kind of how you grow fast. You know that. I know that now. I didn't know that when I was your age, or slightly older than that. And I didn't have people around me who told me that.
Yeah, I think it's become a massive thing recently. Like, there's a lot of courses and people doing it. For me, like over the last year alone, we spent like £40,000 on coaching and stuff, because it's just so important. I guess for you personally, like, why do you feel like it is important to invest into it?
I think it's investing in you as a person. And I mean, one of my core values in clinic and in life is always learning. So I think you not only learn from having a coach or a mentor, you get guidance, and have somebody that you can juggle ideas with. So, I've had a coach for the last 15, 16 years, maybe even more than that. Different versions of it, not just chiropractors. Actually, at the moment, I don't have a chiropractor as a coach, which I find really refreshing. So just have a pure business coach. So, but, being in groups with the same people is also important, right? And you're the summary of the 8 people that you hang out with, right? So if you want,
I really, really live by that. Yeah,
me too.
It's such a big thing.
Yes, if you don't want to be in the lower group, then maybe you should check out who your friends really are, right? Doesn't mean that they can't be your friends anymore, but don't hang out with them only.
Yeah, and I think that's what, for me personally, buying into masterminds and courses, it just levels up your network instantly, because no one needs to temp check anyone. Whether they're serious in there. It's just like, oh, this is so nice, and everyone's so similar, so you can just think on the same wavelength. You're actually one of the only clients we have who has a business coach, not someone who's like a chiropractor, but it's quite interesting. I can imagine. Is that because I get like I know this, and so do you, is that it's both? Business applies to both.
Absolutely,
business is business.
A business is a business, right? But I think we forget that in the chiropractic world sometimes, that it is running a real business. But I also think that a lot of people who, let me start from the beginning there. Not everybody should be a business owner. Let's be very clear with that. Not everybody can be a business owner. That doesn't suit everybody, because in the chiropractic profession, we have such low overheads in general, so that you can actually just create a job for yourself and just run it as a company, but you don't actually have a business. Because unless you can take yourself out of that business and it works without you, it's not a business, I'm afraid.
It's one of the most important things.
Yes.
I know that Ryan's helped you a lot, and that's something he says, isn't it? It's like a profit-making enterprise that works without you. That's what and some people want to aspire to build that, but the process of building that is very, very, very painful.
Yes, and hard. It's hard work. So you've got to be very, very tenacious and stubborn and have goals, right? It's hard work sometimes. Well, actually, all the time, hard work. But if you like it, you like it. But if you go back to what I said before about not everybody should be running a business, like if you want a simple life, you make a lot more money as an associate than as a business owner.
And so is that like being a solo on your own, or just like actually just working for someone?
Working for somebody else.
Really?
Because working for yourself, you have the overheads to look after.
It's very true.
And if you work for somebody else, you literally just have to walk into that clinic and do the clients. You don't have any headaches whatsoever. At the end of the month, at the end of the year, all you need to do is look at your income and your tax payments. That's it.
Yeah, it's very simple. Yeah, it's interesting that so many people go down that path. Something like that I really wanted to get from you, because you're very, very good at converting. It's so that I think people get a lot of value out of that. Can you kind of walk us through your consultation process and how that works?
So I'm not a pain-based chiropractor in that sense, but of course people come in with pain problems to start with, right? And you acknowledge that, but you also get them to answer questions that gets them to think. So, what's the controlling organ of the body, or what system in the body controls everything that happens in your body, right? So you sort of pull things out of them, so they are telling you what you want to tell them. But listening to them, right, all the time, and following them and being close, mirroring with body language. Nowadays we can use AI stuff to take notes, so we don't even have to take notes as we do it. But I like writing things down. It's a great way of pausing in conversation. Let some things sink into them. You've got to be good at holding silence, creating effects, because nothing will happen without a little bit of tension in the room there, right? And let's be honest, you have to sell. You have to sell. It's not a bad word, but for you to be able to get them to understand what you do, you've got to convince them first. Once they start getting adjusted, it is a mind-blowing thing. They're sold, right? But you've got to get their trust there. You've got to connect with them. You got to get them to like you. And let's be honest, the person with the highest energy in the room is always going to win, right? So you've got to be enthusiastic. You can't be sitting there thinking about something completely different. You can't be thinking about what you're going to do with your girlfriend or boyfriend, or for dinner tonight. You've got to be super laser focused in all of that. And whether you do a day one only or a day one, day two, which is what we do, is collecting data, setting that up with them. Learn to talk expectations with them. Okay, today this is what we're going to do. Boom, 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 boom. And we're going to start with this, and then we're going to connect them together. And I'm going to.
Is that something you're doing right at the start?
Yes, right at the start.
So it's like setting the frame of what's going to actually happen.
Totally. Welcome them in. But it all starts from when they come into the clinic and they sit down. Like your CAs, if you have CAs, need to be on it. They need to be happy. They need to be smiley. They need to be saying hello. They need to be offer them water, coffee, teas, whatever it is that you do. They need to be hugged the second they move into the clinic, right? And you need to, even if you don't stop and say hi for them to start with, you give them a big smile when you go past, you pick up your papers and you go straight back to them and you look at them in the eye and you go, hi, my name is Dr. Kris. I'm here to help you today. I'm a chiropractor here at Senses Health. Let's go downstairs and start your session.
Very interesting.
You've got to be on it.
Can you touch on something I never heard before? So as soon as they come in, they have to have a hug.
No. They just need to feel hugged.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. They need to feel hugged. I mean, we hug people in the clinic, but maybe not in the beginning.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's interesting. I can imagine that they be maybe a bit divided. That's why I wanted to touch on it.
But if you think about, they need to feel looked after. Okay, mm-hmm. That's the hug.
Got it. Right? Yeah, that makes sense. And then so you've come in. They've been warmly welcomed. And then you've come up, you've said who you are. You probably have quite a professional frame, I assume. You're acting very professional. You've introduced yourself. You take them downstairs. What goes on after that?
Well, firstly, I let them walk ahead of me, and that is not for politeness. That is to observe them. So even when they're sitting there, I've already have a vision of what is going on in their bodies. You can read people by their posture, right? So the examination starts up there. I might be even adjusting in the adjusting area, and I can see them when they come in and sit down, but I don't acknowledge them. But my awareness is there, right? So we come into the room. I now have prepared myself for what they do, what the issues are, like the personal stuff, and I ask them questions about their life. It's not about where their pain is to start with. I mean, I know this is going to sound really weird, but I don't really care about that so much. I mean, I don't want people to be in pain, don't get me wrong, but that's not the most important thing there. The most important thing is to connect with them and ask them personal questions and about what they do, right? Like if they're a teacher, ask them about that. Oh my God, that's really exciting. What are you teaching? What subjects? You get to know a lot about them already in what they do. How you are going to present certain facts to them. How are you going to present your report of findings to them? Whether they're a person who likes a story, whether they are a person who likes to be bullet pointed with facts, like most of the business owners are very high D's in the disc hierarchy, right? But that's not for everyone. So I have to then switch from how I want things to be delivered to how they want it to be delivered. So
you're thinking about how you're going to present the care plan.
I mean,
in that early stage.
Everything. How I present things about the body to them, right? Because part of my day one is an education process of why they are in pain and where it's coming from, and that the pain is only an alarm system from the body to the brain, and it's an uncomfortable one, but it's a brilliant one. Pain is not a bad thing. Pain is a good thing. And, I use language that probably not that many other chiropractic clinics use, because we're so set in the medical paradigm about pain is bad. If you don't have pain, then don't come to see us, right? That's not where I am at all. So does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It's very interesting. So I guess what is like the key main thing then that you're trying to, so I assume like with me personally is doing sales, I'm trying to break beliefs and objections in that early phase. How do you go about that process without it, because it is sales, but you're doing what I like to call pull sales. You're pulling people in by asking them strategic questions.
Yes.
Which is very interesting, because I did an interview with Lydia, and I do sales for myself, and it's also similar. It's similar to how you have a business coach. It's so similar, but can you kind of talk me how you do
So it is pulling them in with that, and it's also then tying their problem to the nervous system, right? Because that's what we actually work with. We work with the nervous system always. The nervous system is the controlling and regulating system of the body, right? And if we have interference there, whatever you want to call it, I'm old school, I call it subluxation, then something is not going to be working 100%. And that's how I tie things back to their pain, right? Some people are read up on what's going on and why, some people aren't, but you gotta show them. It's a show and tell thing. And the whole exam is a show and tell. We do loads of things that people probably don't do. Some of the vagus nerve chiropractors do what we do as well, but balance and we use kinesiology testing to check the sort of nerve flow, if you like, or the muscle response, if you like. We call it adaptive neurokinetics. But I measure subluxations. But I also measure strength, pulse, oxygen, sensory things, standing on one leg, marching on the spot with your eyes closed, walking on a line with your eyes open, eyes closed. So everything is checking how fast the signals are going through from your brain out to the body and back again.
And how, when you're doing this, are you making it so that they also know that there's a problem, not just you? Or is it just so blatantly obvious?
So blimmin' obvious. It's so blimmin' obvious that sometimes they go like, do it again, just to get it proven to themselves that test is like, holy, F, right? and sometimes.
And you would say you do some unique testing that other people aren't doing as well.
Yeah, I think some people do those testing, but I think the way I test for the nervous system is quite unique. It's a whole bunch of things mixed together that I've created a little bit of my own spin on. There's a few chiropractors out there that are close friends of mine who use similar things. But yeah, I mean, that's what we're testing for, right? I want to see how many subluxations they have in their connection parts. I often, with younger people, maybe for you, I would have said that the brain is the computer and the spinal cord is the USB port, and every single cell in your whole body is connected to that USB port.
I actually feel like you when we first spoke 2 years ago, you said something like that to me. You did some sort of computer analogy to me, which is really interesting. And now we just brought out now, because that was like on one of our second calls, I think, on our onboarding call. Because at the time I had absolutely no clue about anything, and I was just like, "What did he say?" No, but I did get it, obviously, because it's a good analogy. Very interesting. So that's the examination side of things, and it's good that you're using analogies. It's very similar. Lydia mentioned how she was using analogies a lot as well. I try and use analogies a lot, and you're using them. It's such a good tool.
But it depends on who it is, right? So you've got to know who they are first. So you've got to have the right questions in your forms that is all tying into what you're talking about in the consultation.
Yeah. And then maybe you're doing analogies based on what their job is, and then they can really, really understand it. So once they've done, that's practically day one over, right?
Yeah, that's day one over. Okay. So we actually allow up to an hour for that. So we actually have plenty of time to listen to them. And I guess the actual testing thing probably takes maybe 25, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So, this is something that because we see all our clients' calendars, obviously. I believe you are the only one that does that when they have a day one, day two process. But maybe it's a success leaves clues. So maybe that's one of the reasons why your conversion is good.
I think I don't like to stress people, and I don't like them to feel that they don't have enough time. I don't spend an hour very often, but some of the associates do. Because they might not.
So when you're saying about stress, are you saying it about your team or the patient or both?
No, the person that's in front of you.
Okay.
And I don't want anybody to feel rushed, right? That's not cool. Because that's what happens out there in the other paradigm, right? They got 10 minutes, you can only talk about one thing and you're out. Right? So
Then talk me through your day 2 process, because that day 1 is always the foundation. If you don't do that right, then it's all gone. You can't build a foundation.
It's all the data. It's all the data collection, right? So, but you've got a lot of data from the form already filled in. We've got a 5-page form. It's a long form, and with all those other testing, they should be creating quite a good picture of what's going on, right? And then we have a folder. I like to give people things. People like to have things in their hand and not just look at a screen. So we have a folder. It's nicely designed. We have a nervous system chart where we mark where the less than 100% function is, where the subluxations are. And we also have a form where we put our findings. Sort of, we do atlas temperature. We could do grip strength with marching test, balance, right and left. Heel toe walk, eyes shut, eyes open. We do, did I say the marching test already? I think so. Yep. There's a few more. I can't remember them now. But it's literally 6 or 7 tests that we do all the time, and we just follow that. We have got a little thing that we follow that's in the clinic room. So all of that is in the report, plus the posture screen. That's the one we do too. Bilateral scales we do too. So and then we start with showing them what is a good posture, a healthy posture, and then we show them their posture. And then we start by looking at the spinal cord and what is a healthy spinal cord and what they look like. And then we put the posture and the spinal cord together and show them, can you see, here's the curve there. This is where your subluxations are in that part. And this is where the subluxations are in this part. And then, of course, we add then grip tests, pulse oxygen, blood pressure, atlas temperature, the whole shebang with the marching and the balance and the heel toe walk on top of that. So then they have a picture of what they can't do. And I think the most obvious things are the balance and the heel toe walk. Everybody thinks it's going to be super easy. So not easy. Most people fail on step 1 and step 2 with their eyes shut. And we do 6 steps. It's not like far, right? So, yep. So that's the presentation. And then you again ask questions about, you already know what they want to do, right? So you've asked that in the first one. So you already know that they want to do. So then asking, is this something that you want to go ahead with? And then there's just a normal sales thing. So you've got a few options. You got this option, you got that option, or you got this option. Always, when you talk to them, start with the one where you do nothing. And then you have the one that you got a slow process. This is going to take longer than expected. Or we have the fastest route with the phase 1, which is normally what we talk about in the ROF, right? But it's about giving them a perspective forward and then pulling it back. So the whole process here might be taking, a healing process might be taking 12 to 18 months in the real world if somebody has been going with pain for 20 years, right? But we're only going to talk about the first 3 to 4 months today.
Got it.
And in my opinion, most chiropractors, I would probably say 95% of the chiropractors are always underestimate how long healing is going to take. And I'm not recommending the real proper care.
Wow. Very, very interesting perspective. So why is that then?
Because we're scared. We're scared of what people would think. Like, how long does a fracture take to heal? Well, somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks, right? But that's the fracture. That's the fracture of the inside. Is the rest of the leg properly healed and ready to work again? Not really, right? There's a whole system there. But we are so tuned in or, persuaded about that. That's the time, right? So we are scared of people going, oh, he's talking crazy, this person, right?
And then maybe they're really just trying to sell me, make money exactly. There.
But if you've got proof, if you've got real articles about it and how long healing actually takes, then you can show them.
And then, so you mentioned those 3 options you have. Is that because I know well, I'm not sure exactly how many care plans you're at, how many sessions you're usually doing, but then are you giving them 3 options as well? It's like how many sessions they can come in for?
Yeah,
Can you talk me through that?
Because we only talk about the phase 1, right? So phase 1 is bringing the power back up, right? Or lowering the symptoms, right? That's phase 1. Your house is on fire. We need to put the fire out. Phase 2 is rebuilding what the fire has destroyed, i.e. stabilize the position that we have created from the first part. That's a slower one. That's a longer one. So the phase 1 is anything from 3 to 4 months, sometimes 5, depending on how the body reacts. Not me deciding how long that's going to be. It's their body's reactions and the measurements that we use all the time. So every 12th visit, we measure, check all the tests again, and see what's happened. Right.
And so, on average, with you, what's the sort of average care plan you're going with?
It varies. It varies, but if I do an average thing, we probably do a minimum of twice a week for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So it varies. So young people you can go a bit faster. You can do 2 or 3 times a week. Slightly older people like myself, we have to go slower because we adapt slightly slower than others. But it depends on who they are. Depends on what type of body it is and what they've done in the past. But that's kind of for ease, we can say twice a week for 12 weeks, and we do once a week for 12, once a fortnight for 12. So the whole process is a long process.
Yeah, and it seems like they know that from early on.
Day one. Yeah, absolutely.
And then I was going to go into about the maintenance, but actually I want to ask you this, because you mentioned that you give them the plan and they have those 3 options, which seems like a real cornerstone of what you're doing. What if they're telling you, okay, yeah, thank you for all this, it's been amazing, I'm just going to go have a chat with my husband, or I'm going to go and have a little think about it. What are you doing in that situation? Well,
there's loads of easy ways of asking the straightforward question, but without being confrontational. So using things like, just out of curiosity, what is it that you need to think about? Or just out of curiosity, what do you think that your husband or wife is going to say about this? And if they still push back, then I ask them if I could give them a call and talk to them on the phone together.
And that's something that I really love what you just said there, is like, what do you think your husband or wife is going to say? Because most likely what they're going to tell you is what they're thinking. So then you can just explain it to them and go through it with them. And then usually then you've handled the objection, which is, and I guess probably, are you trying to get partners into second sessions usually?
I don't anymore. We live in London, right? It's just not going to happen. But telephone calls are good. And just because they don't buy on the day doesn't mean they're not going to buy. So it's not like buy now or get out and not come back, right? That's not. Some people take time to make a decision, and that's absolutely fine. But don't get them to call you. You call them. You need to lead them into a decision, an informed decision, but you need to lead them in there.
Through those pulling questions that you're asking, most likely. But when do you know to go, okay, this person needs time? It's one of probably the hardest things in sales, because it's like you believe you know, but sometimes it's that part of you that doesn't want to grow. That's the bit that's like, actually, yeah, that person really, they need to have a think about it. And I'm always wondering, if when I do this, am I actually serving this person in the best way, or have I tried harder? And that's what
I think. Again, it's the touch points, right? You need to have a few touch points, even after, if they were like, oh no, I really can't afford this, and I'm not going to do it, blah blah blah. I still have touch points after,
and that's through those calls that you're doing.
Exactly, and it's not just because I want to persuade them to buy. It's because I want to show them that we actually care about how they feel and what they do, right? That's why I think that's how you have to be a good human being. You have to care.
And I think that probably a lot of people could get caught up. I want to really like exaggerate this to other people is that maybe like you aren't caring as much because you're not following up. It's not like you're caring more because you're not following up. No, you're not putting the effort in to really change this person's life. You're not being beggy or pushy or anything.
It's your bloody duty to try and help them best you can, right? That's, I mean, I've had a day one and day two, and almost a year after they've come back. You know,
always keeping the door open.
I'm ready. You know, people aren't ready quickly. But back to your question, it sort of comes across during both them filling in the forms. You can pull out some personalities from that, and also how they behave in the initial consultation in the day one, and asking them questions of what their interests are, right? If they're a very academic person, they're very likely to be fact driven. And if they're not, they're very likely to be story driven. And if they're story driven, they might be the person that takes a bit longer to buy something, right? Mm-hmm. You can talk about their clothes, you can talk about their outfits, you can talk about their hair. You can sort of see if they've just done their hair, they're probably, you know, happy to spend a bit of money on themselves, and that's a good level of expectations for you, or how to deal with that. And yeah, it's a whole picture of who they are in front of you, right?
It's probably one of the answers that no one wants to hear, but it does take a little bit of time. You have to really develop emotional intelligence to know when to do this, and when to really try and pull that person in. We never really want to push people, especially in what you do. I can get away with it a little bit more with what we offer, but maybe not with what you do. So you really want to pull them, but you have less leeway. So I think it definitely comes with time.
But using the right language is super, super important. And one of my favorite books at the moment, well, there's a few favorite books, but at the moment is Exactly What to Say. And it is bringing up things like I said before, right? Just out of curiosity. And, you know, saying things like, this chiropractic thing might not be for you, but are you willing to hear what we can do for you?
I love that. Because it's like the radical authenticity, and then like the word "but." I hate using the word "but" in sales, but the way you just used it is absolutely perfect, because you're exaggerating the negative.
Yes.
Whereas if you say, "I completely understand you, but this," then you just cross out what you already just said before.
Exactly. That's how it's clever. That's how it's really clever. And us humans, we get curious. Why does he think that's not for me? Right, and this is absolutely not me. This is totally from the book, but also another favorite book that people need to read over and over and over again is Kris Voss, Never Split the Difference. And
what's that one about?
He was a hostage negotiator in America.
That's a very good negotiation.
The way that he uses language to pull people in to his level to then get them out or in for whatever scary situation they were in. So it's about connection, basically.
Yeah. And that seems like something you're very good at. It's connecting with the patient. And then when they know, like, and trust you, which is like the three main things you need, then it makes it very, very easy. You touched on earlier, and this is something I would say you're our best client at this, is reactivations, and how important that is. Could you touch on that a little bit? And then I know that you're a very busy man, so we are going to have to wrap up soon. Unfortunately, I didn't even get to go on to hiring yet. So we're still in sales, but it's been amazing.
I mean, the reactivations are important, because they're your low-hanging fruit. Like, they've already been your client. They already are your client. So you don't have to persuade them anymore, right? You don't have to convince them that what you do is good, because they already know that. So, you know, you gotta lead people in from, I don't like to use acute care, but from the phase 1 to the phase 2 to the phase three, right? Which is, fire in the house, rebuilding, and then maintaining the house, preventing it from going back, keeping a buffer, right, from the pain line up to where your real true health is, right? So the reactivations are important because they are the most valuable people that you already have in your list, right? Just getting new and having a leaky bucket is going to burn you out very quickly. Very
paid for these patients. So that's if anyone doesn't know what reactivation is, it's just someone who's come into the clinic and hasn't been in before, who hasn't come in again. So maybe it might be in like 2 months. So we set up some automations for this to help with that. But you guys are also very, very good at calling the people, and you have a good incentive scheme, which we probably don't have enough time to touch on annoyingly.
No, we can do that. Yeah, but it is important. That is. And if you're not doing that, you're missing a massive, easy trick to get busier.
Yeah, but it's one of those pieces of work that's so easy, but you have so much resistance towards doing it because it's probably going to be that one thing that's going to grow you the most, and that's usually like.
But you never sell to those people. You don't have to sell. You just go, hi, this is Dr. Kris. I'm just calling to see how you're doing. It's been a long time since you've been in. I just wanted to touch base and see if there's anything I could help you with. That's it. Boom, done. And then they go, oh, hi, so nice to hear from you. No, everything is fine at the moment and blah, blah, blah. And then, okay, and then they want to book, then that's fine. We hang up the phone. We don't do anything else. 6 weeks later, we do the same thing again. But in between there, Daniel and Francesca has created some freaking amazing automations for us. So there you go.
There we go. Yes.
But that's the thing, right? So you're constantly feeding them, and emails. I used to hate people sending me too many emails, but guess what? It's working. I've sent at least 2 emails per week to my whole client base since March 2020, without fail.
Amazing. And this is something that we've just implemented as well. And like if anyone ever goes through our nurture sequence, like it is so helpful. But this interview will be in it. Maybe that's why someone's going to be watching this interview.
but make sure you don't have rubbish in there. Make sure you have interesting things for them to read.
And are you making that?
Yeah.
Are you using AI at all for that?
Sometimes.
Yeah, well,
I have now a library for 5 years, so I don't have to read. I mean, I've now started going back in time, right? So I'm taking ideas from 2022, revamping them and pushing them in through AI to rewrite it, and that's it. So I don't have to think. It's a bit of work, but it's kind of fun work.
Yeah. But very, very high leverage, which is always what you want to be doing.
And you can get that into themed things with what you do in clinic. So they feed into what you do there as well. So you've got a whole big picture of what's happening in-house.
It's also quite interesting is that's definitely something that you would want to outsource to someone like me. Like I don't feel like you can outsource that because you need to get yourself across. And so maybe it starts to be like, oh, email marketing. This is why we don't really do that much. We have to do a couple of emails for you, but it's not that many. But it needs to be you.
But you only have to do, say about 100 odd, right? For 2 a week.
Yep.
And then loop them. No one's going to remember. No one's going to remember.
Definitely.
So it's easy. It takes a little bit of effort to set it up, but I can set one up for the next 3 months in a couple of hours or 2-3 hours on a Sunday. Easy.
Yeah, and then it's just and especially sending it to your like you can use it in multiple ways. New patients, old original, like existing, old
social media post, introducing new associates, introducing new physios, whatever you have in the clinic, right?
Yeah.
Client days, inviting them into the practice to have a chat and a bite to eat and maybe a little something to drink, which is what we do twice a year. So
champagne,
all of that, memberships, like you name it.
Yeah, a bit of champagne.
Retention. Yeah, exactly. Of course. I don't give them champagne. I give them bubbles, but
Yeah. Perfect. Well, Kris, I imagine that people found that very, very valuable. We may have to do a part 2 for the hiring side of things, but I'm not going to do that now. Final things before we jump off. This is the part where you sell us to other people. You have been one of our top referrers. You're in competition with a few other people for top referrer. Yeah, Danny.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, Danny and Filippo, watch out. And someone else, I'm forgetting someone else as well. But how has your experience been with Align Flow so far?
It's been very, very, very good and very humbling to see two very young people have so much knowledge about marketing that I remember our conversation when we talked about before. And it's like, I had to ask you how old you were, and you told me you were doing your A levels. I was like, wow, you know, but no, it's been really, really good. And I'm very impressed with a lot of the sequences that your guys are doing that feeds back into your information channels, right? Did that person come? Did they buy? Feeding that back into the system, that I'm impressed with massively. And over the couple of months that we've been, it's been growing and growing and growing, right? And I know we're going to turn up the volume a little bit with ad spend, and it's going to be even more lucrative in that sense, right?
Yeah, you really, on that first call, you kind of changed my mindset a lot, actually, because you were like to me, oh my gosh, this is free. You should be charging 2K a month for this. I was like, really?
Yeah, you see?
Yeah, which is, it was really, really, really good times. And what would you say to someone who's considering working with us, but maybe it's a little bit unsure? They're having a little think about it.
Just do it. You have nothing to lose. That's the thing. You can either get more clients or you can get more clients. It's only those two options. Well, it's true though, isn't it? Then, you know, if they don't have, or if they want more clients to start with without you, it can only go one way. It can only go one way. And you have to spend to get. You
can pay with time or money.
You have to pay to acquire clients. It's just that simple, right? That's
amazing.
Business.
Well, Kris, it's an honor to be able to share some presence with you. The people you're around you become very lucky to be around you. Have you got any final words?
Just get a coach, man. Get a coach.
And get a marketing guy. Don't forget that.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. And go with Daniel and Francesca. Get a coach. Get a coach. There's plenty of us out there who are willing to help the new generation to thrive, because we need to.
If anyone, I think you do a little bit of coaching, right, Kris?
Yeah.
So if anyone needs a coach, there he is.
Thank you.
Boom. Thank you, Kris. Appreciate it.
Brilliant.
Thank you for that. Amazing. We have my clock has overrun. Actually now. That was amazing. Thank you so much. I will send it to you once it's done. I'll let you get off to your other meeting you've got. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was really good. Thank you. Bye.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Yes.